What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So I am going to update one of my older videos talking about all the artifacts and lightstones I use, and some things have changed. A lot of things are kind of the same, but I figured I'll just showcase what I have just in case you're looking to upgrade or see something different. So this is going to go for PvE, PvP, and life skillers as well. And yeah, let's go over everything I use. Now, keep in mind that a lot of these are going to be more towards endgame because that's where I'm at, but we'll talk about things that you can use as a beginner as well, so don't worry about that. Okay, so if you don't have all the presets, that's okay. Realistically, it's just a convenience thing. But anyway, let's talk about the two main ones that are, the most popular these days: target opening and vicious shadows. Now, I use these for PvE situationally, and ultimately at the end of the day you're gonna want to get them both, but if you were to pick one of them, I would say probably vicious shadows if you want the maximum damage output. I read somewhere that it's about like 60%. If you can get back attacks 60% at a time or more, it does more damage than target openings. But if you're not locked in when you're grinding all the time, target openings is probably going to be better, just because let's say you're watching a TV show or movie on the side while you're grinding. That's why. But anyway, the goal is to get both of them. And also, the grind spot does matter, because some spots is just really hard to get back attacks, and some are a lot easier than others. So look at where you grind and then pick the right one for you. Next one we have is species, which is, I have all three of them, and with the recent grind spots that came out of Dekia, Miramok, and Gyfin, those are the two new ones that came out with last patch. People who are not overcapped, here's how species works. So you get 3 crystals, right? Or 3 lightstones, and then an iridescent. And then if they're not amplified, it'll give you plus 15 for the effect and plus 5 for each additional lightstone. And then you amplify it for another like plus 1 or 2 for each of them. So for Adania, I use this one, and it would give me a total of 30 to 36, depending on how many amplified. And then for people who are grinding Kama-Sylvia spots, you would want 3 fallen ones, and then the same iridescent, and then demi-human for Star's End coming out next week. People who are not at that point yet, or, the new Star's End is supposed to be 395 AP. I don't know the efficient number for AP yet, but it's good to have these just in case we don't meet them. So basically, if you're not over the cap of, let's look at this, for example. Here's the best way to show it. Let's say you're grinding at Tenebrum or Zephyros, right? If red number bad, green number good. So if you look at that one, generally you kind of want to be within green number to efficient, and that's how you get like maximum trash loot. If you're slightly under, let's say this is 2010, right, and you're at like 1990 or 2000, chances are realistically you'll still be fine, but I would still use species instead of the other ones. Like instead of vicious shadows or target opening, I would use species if you can't cap out. Okay, so yeah, basically demi-human, Kama-Sylvians, those are just the extra species. You need 3 of them plus an iridescent. If I need them, then I'll swap them out, but until then I just have them for backup. Okay, so for the next 3 of them, we are going to be talking about PvP ones. Now, this is my PvP for damage setup, which is 3 blights and an iridescence. It's kind of like the species one we use, but I use them in the Dekia artifacts, the expensive ones. And this one is a combination of defense with an extra plus 12 and then plus another 18 total, so plus 30 damage against adventurers, which is players now, and humans are human species damage, which is less relevant. So yeah, it works similarly to species, but this one is for players and PvP. This one is if I wanted to go all tanky with DR, and it's 4 iron walls, the rigid shield effect. So it's 4 iron walled lightstones with a combination of the Dekia artifact for DR players, so it's plus 38. And even as a Dark Knight, the glass cannon class of the game, I do notice a huge difference with it. So it is pretty nice, actually. So for like tankier classes in general, it's probably you're going to notice a bigger difference. Now, this one is the one I'm working on right now, finishing up the last Herald artifact thingy for it to turn it into the pink one. Admittedly, I don't really play evasion classes, which is why I'm not really in a rush to get it, even though I could just get it, buy it. I don't want to. I'll talk about this one. So, the evasion Dekia artifact one, which is the equivalent of this one, but the evasion version. And I personally like the Steel Shield, which is a combination of all damage reduction and evasion, because at some point, the trade-off between evasion and damage reduction, it's a little bit different. And like for PvP, you kind of just have to guess what people are using, and most players these days are DR builds, so it's really kind of rare that you'll see people running full evasion. And if you do, people who have the accuracy on crystals or like artifacts and everything kind of break through full evasion. So kind of have a little mix of DR and evasion with this evasion setup, which is a combination of both. One, this is Steel Shield, and this one is Rigid Shield for DR. So as far as I know, these are what a lot of players use in uncapped and also, sometimes cat open world 1v1s. So I assume this is going to be the most common ones, or the damage one if you feel like using more damage. Okay, before we get into the Lightstone or the life skill ones, let's talk about the few other ones that I use. So Death Blow, this is a beginner friendly, combination. It gives extra monster damage plus 10 and then crit rate plus 10. As we all know, getting up to 100% crit rate is probably the best thing any class could do. But in particular, I think this one works better with dosas, because they have a lot of crit and like abilities that it's like harder to hit 100% with them. So Death Blow is a budget friendly thing for like new players in general, but also dosas actually unironically use them for a lot of things. So crit rate is always good. That one is plus 10 plus another 2 of them. I believe it is adding another 1 if you amplify them all as well, and plus like 16 to 20 or 16 to 20 total if they're amplified. Next one we have is All Out Attack. Now this one is actually pretty solid, but it's not really, the best one for Adonia anymore, simply because this is if you're an endgame player, you're going to be using target openings or vicious shadows or species. Now, the reason why this one is still good, but it's not the best, is because you do take a penalty on defenses with this one. And when you're grinding at higher end spots, things actually do hit really hard no matter how much gear you have. And so you really don't want that DP penalty. Plus, just the other ones doing special attack damage, like target opening is crit, vicious shadows is back attacks and everything. You want more if you are overcapped. And so the AP is a little bit less relevant for those people. But if you're undercapped, this one is still best in slot to reach the cap, because plus 20 and then the amplified crystals if you do that one. So yeah, this one is still good, but it's not best in slot anymore. I would say like, higher than mid tier, but not best in slot. So slightly under B tier, I guess, or something. And then, this one is just straight up amplified combat XP from when I'm AFK on a dummy, which is very rarely, to be honest. I use it for leveling up season characters, and it goes by pretty quickly, actually. So yeah, that's about it. Okay, so with that said, those are all the PvE and PvP ones. Let's talk about the life skill ones that I use. And before we do that, let me just show you. These are all the life skill levels I have. My main life skills these days that I do are gathering, a little bit cooking, and then processing. Well, and then, fishing. Obviously, everyone does fishing. So anyway, gathering. This is probably the one that I think I use the most. We have the Yawning Hedgehog. And I personally combine this with the gathering item drop rate instead of mastery or XP, simply because when you gather, you want the item drop rate of the rare items to be higher. So like, whatever you're gathering you want higher tier quality of it. So that's why I have that. Yawning Hedgehog is good because it gives item gathering drop rate and then a combination of everything else like XP, mastery, energy recovery, everything you want when you're gathering. So I think this is the best combination. I will admit this is kind of expensive, but if you do like a couple hours of gathering, you make the silver back. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Gathering mastery to forest lightstone is very expensive. Iridescence, at least here on NA, kind of expensive. Fortunes and planes are not too bad nowadays. All right, for cooking and alchemy, cooking, I just go straight mastery simply because I can get 1 second cooking speed with like Mono's clothes and all the ladle and everything. So getting 1 second cook time is very easy nowadays with full buffs and, you know, just in general. So mastery is always going to be better, especially if you're doing Imperial delivery afterwards. So that's what I have it for. Very easy. Every life skill combination is probably going to have an iridescent. So just be prepared to buy one of those, but trust me, it does make the silver back. The return on investment is pretty good. Okay, so next thing we have is for alchemy. I am not really sure if this one's best in slot. You could just use the alchemy mastery, kind of like the cooking one, where it gives like plus 45 or something. But right now, I just used this one because I thought that was fine. I wanted a combination of XP, simply because alchemy does not have mass alchemy, kind of like cooking does. If you know how, like, if you cook the same things, you'll be done with cooking significantly faster than alchemy. So I wanted the extra XP on top of it. Just, you know, it's nicer to have. But aside from that, this is the combination I use: a fragment of a star, spoonful of the moon, whatever that means. But anyway, it's just a -2 alchemy time. Chances are you could get 1 second alchemy, same with cooking, just as easily. But I wanted the XP and mastery combination of it as well. Processing. A lot of you guys have been doing that one because alchemy stones have been a new thing and people are trying to make the ingots. So I used the Clang Clang one, which is processing success rate plus 20%. That is the only thing I want. Like, I want to process things faster. So plus 20% is good. Aside from that, I don't really care too much for the XP or the mastery. I just want to get done with the batch as fast as possible. The next one we have is for horse training. I use Into the Sunset, which is mount XP, mastery, and training XP. Realistically, the only thing I wanted was mount XP, but the other two are nice to have as well, and I just figured that one is a combination of all the things that are the best. But I believe if you want max mount XP exclusively, there's a different one. But I just wanted, you know, a combination of all of them, which is, you know, something that I figured would be pretty good. Okay, so for fishing, there's 2 different Lightstone and Artifact combos that I use. It depends on if you are using the pay-to-win rod that comes into Pearl Shop, or you're using the Balanos free one. So this one is the one you use if you are using the pay-to-win rod. And the reason why I use this one is because gear durability reduction plus 30%. You want to basically get as much of the fishing like durability out of the rod as you can. So before it hits 0%, you know, you just want to get the maximum amount of usage out of it. And so that's why I have it. Like, the other stats are completely irrelevant. You just want gear durability reduction. If you're using the free-to-play or like the Balanos rod, you want automatic fishing time reduced. And so you basically, like, when you're AFK fishing, you just want to catch as much as you can, as fast as you can. The pay-to-win rod does not have, like, it's already at max fishing reduction time. So that one is less relevant, but the Balanos rod isn't. So you want to push that down as far as you can. So the Nibbles, Lightstone combination is the one I use for that one. It really just depends. Are you free to play rod or pay to win rod? You use something different. All right, so for hunting, I have Blink of an Eye. The only thing I want on here is matchlock reload speed. Especially if you're doing like if you're Guru and you have like 4 shots, or you're not Guru and have 3 shots or something, you want to make those count. So reload speed like is extremely important. And so that's about it. I don't think anything is particularly expensive. Yeah, like the track one is not too bad. The iridescent is probably the most expensive one. That's about it. Sailing. I use Ocean's Embrace, and it's really just sailing, bartering, and sailing mastery. Sailing mastery will make your boat speed go faster. So that's just good. That's about it. Farming. I just use straight farming XP because mastery is completely irrelevant for farming, and that life skill needs a buff again. And right now it's pretty good, but it's not like something you use for silver. The only thing that's worth it for farming is really just XP, and even past Master 1 is kind of irrelevant. So yeah, it's not something super important. I just kind of had it because it's nice to have. We talked about all of these, and the last one we have is for trading. Trading is a dead life skill, and basically all you want is more XP, and maybe one day in the future, if they ever decide to buff it, then that's good. Then trading will be good again. But until then, it's been basically irrelevant for the past multiple years of the game. So yeah, those are all the combinations I use. Here are a few things that I want to talk about if you're like a beginner. So if you're unfamiliar with all of these, you see these extra AP against monsters artifacts. These are very easy to obtain. A lot of grind spots drop them, and the chances are more new players have these instead of like the Kabuas. So you would just use this for PvE, and here's some things that I'd recommend. If you don't have anything and you just want cheap lightstones, you could use like extra AP against monsters. These are very cheap. So adding 4 of them in general just gives you like plus what, like 20, 30 extra monster AP. So PvE, that's pretty good. And it's nice to have. Now for life skills, everyone comes in a different one. So whether you're gathering in particular, life XP in general, life skill mastery, or anything else, really just depends on what you're doing. If you're a new player, I would recommend using life XP until you get to like Guru for all your life skills, Master, Guru, something around there. And then you could start switching to Mastery ones. And like getting to Guru is the important part. Mastery is pushing money and silver in the game. And if you don't have the endgame Dekia artifacts, literally just used all damage reduction or all evasion Lightstones like these two, the Lesha's ones, all DR, all evasion. That's basically the same thing as these, but without the extra, HP and everything. So yeah, these are best in slot. These are also like sold out and 10 bill on the market, and these are basically free. So yeah, that's about it. There are other ones, but they're a little bit out of date these days. Like the HP ones are irrelevant, but yeah, I would say use all of these if you can. And in terms of like target opening versus Vicious Shadows, we talked about that. You want them both eventually, but if you were to pick one, I would say Vicious Shadows because that one's just more damage output, but it also depends on your grind spots, so just keep that in mind. So yep, that's about it. All I wanted to talk about. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. Before you head out, I just wanted to talk about this real quick. We do have an event going on for content creators where if you use someone's code, we get a small portion of what you spend. It's always appreciated. And if you're thinking about buying any pearls, A-coins, or upgrading your game package, like that Conqueror's edition or whatever on the website, yeah, I get a small portion of that if you use my code. It's always appreciated, but never required. And with that said, that's all. See you guys tomorrow. Peace.